Hi guys, it's Amanda. I am here today with some unexpected news. You could probably already tell by the title. I was diagnosed last week with breast cancer at age 35. And we are all kind of shocked about it still, especially since it doesn't run in my family. But I just wanted to be open and real with you guys in real time about what's going on, and I just kind of want to document this whole process and experience. I know there are other people out there, many, it's the most common kind of cancer, and I know that there's a whole community of women out there who have walked this path also, and I just feel like maybe my story could help somebody. So I guess I can tell you guys the story. So, little background, I've kind of sort of done self-exams on and off throughout my adult life, but not very consistently since it's not in my family and we live a pretty healthy lifestyle. Was like never something that was really on my radar. I mean, I have always wanted to be aware because I know anything is possible, clearly, but I just never consistently did self-exams throughout my life. I really didn't at all through my pregnant and nursing years. So I really didn't start doing them again until I stopped nursing Teo, which was about a year ago. So I can only credit that as really being a God thing that I started doing that again. In the shower, I noticed a little nodule on the left side. I thought, well, that's weird. I had had mastitis twice in the past. I've had many clogged ducts when I was nursing. I had, lumpy things in there before that were almost always related to nursing. I had actually gone to a breast center once before and they had done an ultrasound, but it turned out I just had a very, very clogged hard duct. But I was done nursing, so I'm like, well, it's not that, because I stopped lactating months ago. So I was like, better be safe than sorry, right? So I contacted my doctor and she sent a referral for me over to our breast center at the local hospital. They were saying, you're 35, probably just one of these fibroadenomas, which is just a benign tumor that is actually really common. It happens in a lot of people. In fact, like the vast majority of the time, it's usually something like that, especially in someone my age. So we're like, it's probably that, but I still had in the back of my mind, what if, I had all the fear in my head and everything, what if, but it's probably fine. All my friends were like, not in your family, you're so young, like pretty unlikely, but it's a good thing you're checking it out just to be safe. So I went in and I had my very first mammogram. They had me go back to the waiting room after that, and then they called me back in for another ultrasound. So after my mammogram, they said, well, we just want to pull you in, we're going to do an ultrasound just to get a closer look. So they did that, and then I went back to the waiting room. Then one of their doctors called me back and they said, we do see something there, and like they said, it's probably a fibroadenoma, probably benign considering your age, all the standard things that they would expect for someone my age. But the doctor was like, I've been surprised a couple times in the past, so we're just going to send you in for a biopsy just to make sure, just to use an abundance of caution. We're just going to make sure you can just put your mind at rest and you can carry on with your life. So I was like, okay, we'll do that. So I came in a few weeks later to have a biopsy done, and that was quite an experience. I guess I can make a different video down the road talking about my mammogram and biopsy experiences. It wasn't too bad, and the people there were amazing and so kind, but it did take a while. So I had that done and I had to wait 3 days to get the results for that. I was trying my best not to be fearful. Maybe something in the back of my mind knew, but I was like trying to be logical about it. All the things I said, like so unlikely that it's cancer. But then something else in my head was like, I've been such a medical anomaly for most of my life. I still haven't had a chance to make my video about this, but I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder, about a year ago, or was a year and a half ago, something like that. And that has been the source of many chronic health issues I've had throughout my life. And so I've always just kind of been a medical anomaly. And so I was like, just watch it be cancer, because I am just always the medical anomaly. That was just kind of like the fear that was in the back of my head, but I was still so unlikely. It's probably fine. We're gonna go to our appointment and she is just going to say it was nothing and we would just carry on with our lives. I had Bill come with me, thank God. It was a Friday afternoon. It was like 4:30 in the afternoon, and there was a very lovely nurse practitioner, one of the main practitioners there. She called us back and sat us down in the room. It almost looks like a counseling therapy kind of room where it's very cozy. They have nice chairs and couch and things like that. Just for that reason, they want it to be a calming environment, understandably so. She didn't waste any time, thankfully. She ripped the Band-Aid off and she said, "Amanda, I am really sorry to tell you this. You have cancer." And that's like one of those moments you never expect to experience in your life. Like, you know that these things are always possible. Anything is possible, but it's not generally something that you like imagine in your life happening. Bill and I both felt like we were just punched in the gut, and he just reached over and he grabbed my hand and just held it really tight, and we both just kind of looked at each other and had this look of fear. This huge wave of emotion just like washed over me, and I was like trying to stay as present as I could so I could hear everything else that she had to say. Clearly, because it was important information that I needed to know, but I was having to concentrate really hard on hearing what she was saying because there was so much, I guess you could call it mental noise going on in my head of just like all of the feelings and emotions and thoughts and fears and like all these things that you never know what it's going to be like to experience it unless you experience it. So yeah, it was the shock of a lifetime. At that moment, we didn't know all the details and like how serious it was. And the first thing you think when you hear you have cancer is, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And I know that's not the case, but that is the immediate like instinctual thought that first pops into your head. Like, oh my God, I might die. I have a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 7-year-old. This can't happen. That's just all the initial thoughts going through your head. I since feel much better than that initial moment, which I'll talk a little bit about. But yeah, in that moment, you don't know what that means and what is coming and what the prognosis is and what that implies for the rest of your life. It's just like a storm of thoughts and emotions going on in your head. I was glad that Bill was able to listen a little more than I was. I heard probably about half of what she said, the most key things. So to give a little information about the kind of cancer I have, it is called invasive ductal carcinoma, which I guess is the most common kind of breast cancer. And it is in 2 spots on my left side. One spot that I felt is actually a tumor, and it is, at least when they took the measurements, it was 22 millimeters. So that's just over 2 centimeters. So it's not enormous, but it's called invasive because it started out in basically the milk ducts in there. And if it grows big enough, it starts to break through the wall of the duct and can, start spreading into the tissues around. So the spot that I felt, it broke out of the duct and to a little bit to the surrounding area around it. Thankfully, from what they could see in the mammogram and in the ultrasound, it hadn't spread too far beyond that. So that is good news. They also found another spot that is basically, I don't know if you'd call it pre-cancer, or I guess it's the earliest stage of cancer, where it is still in the duct. But it has not broken out of the duct yet. So that part is not invasive, and it's what they call in situ, which means inside in Latin or something like that in medical jargon. So it's still inside the duct, and it has left several calcifications behind that. They always look for calcifications because that can be the earliest sign of cancerous cells, and that is the case in the other spot. So thankfully, that was caught as early as it could possibly be. Now, I should say that calcifications do happen in normal, healthy breast tissue. I guess in 80% of the cases where they see calcifications, it's not cancerous, but 20% of the time they are, and that is my case. Once again, I am always a medical anomaly. So that was all I heard, and when I hear these words, I'm like invasive and carcinoma and cancer, like these words, it's just like, it jabs you every time you hear these things. And the way she was presenting, she was so kind and compassionate, but she also had this look of seriousness in her eyes. We are going to have to start treatment immediately to contain it, and before it spreads any further, and you will likely have to go through chemo, radiation, the standard protocol. So just hearing those words, also chemo, radiation, the treatment can be almost as scary as the disease itself, just in how horrible it can make you feel. So that terrified me. But then she went on to tell us good news, most of which I'm glad Bill paid attention to, because I heard bits of it and Bill kind of reiterated it to me later so I could process it when I had, after the initial shock had worn off. But basically, the kind of cancer that this is, it is almost 100% estrogen receptive, meaning it actually has receptors for estrogen on the cancer cells. The good news about that and my prognosis is that if we basically turn the estrogen off in my body, it basically would be very difficult for it to come back because it is basically fueled by estrogen. So that was good news because that is something that is easy to control and makes my prognosis pretty good. So as of that initial appointment, from what they could see in the mammogram and the ultrasound, they couldn't immediately see any involvement in my lymph nodes, which is really good news that it hadn't spread that far yet. I actually will be going to get an MRI this coming weekend, where they will be able to tell for sure, with certainty. They will be able to see in detail all of my lymph nodes and everything, and they will be able to tell if it has spread into my lymph nodes at all, or anywhere else for that matter. But from what they could see on the initial mammogram and ultrasound, it looked promising. So that's good news. But she said that the advantage, if there's any advantage in this, is if it happens in someone your age, you are young and supple, and you will likely recover much more quickly from the treatments and be able to handle the treatments much better than somebody who is older, just because your body is in better shape and healthier generally when you're younger. So that was also encouraging that it might be at least a little easier for me to get through treatments. Not that it's going to be easy. So there's a lot of good news in this. I could make a whole video just on all of the things that I am thankful for in this situation. Another thing being that this did not happen while I was pregnant or nursing. That could have been a really bad situation, and it happened about a year after I stopped nursing. That's huge. I am done having babies. I have my 3 amazing, beautiful children, so I don't have to make any sort of hard decisions about preserving my fertility or anything like that. I'm thanking God every day that I was able to, in safety, be pregnant and nurse all of my children before all of this ever happened, and that I'm now done having children and I don't have to worry about that aspect of it at all, and that is a huge blessing. So I'm thankful for that. So there's a number of positives here, which is really good. Yeah, that first day, that was probably one of the hardest days I have ever had in my life. Probably Bill's too. We both broke down when we were sitting in that room, and God, I feel for the nurse practitioner who gives people this kind of news. Her job, man, she's got to have emotions of steel. I'm sure that it's a hard job that she probably has to go to counseling for herself to deal with. But I thanked her and I was like, I know this must be a really hard job for you, and thank you for having so much compassion and delivering this news to us. She says, yeah, it's not easy, but this is what we're here for, and we're here to help you, and you're going to make it through this. So in all of that conversation, there was a number of times when Bill and I were there's no containing that kind of emotion. It's raw, and it's what it is. And in that room, we just had several moments of just losing it, especially when we're thinking about our kids and how we're going to tell them and what that could potentially mean for them. And Alex has autism and change is hard for him, and all of those things. So we left that appointment just kind of in a shocked daze. So Bill and I went back to the car and we basically just prayed a very long, drawn out prayer, thanking God for all the positives in this that could have been much, much worse. The fact that it is an estrogen receptive cancer means that it is much more treatable than it would be if it was not. The kinds that are not estrogen receptive are much more difficult to treat. So that's why that is especially a silver lining. We're thanking God for that. And just, asking for strength and discernment and guidance in every step that we make, and for the doctors and for our poor families that we knew were going to be worrying about me and our family, and friends and everything. I truly believe that God does not cause things like this to happen. I think the natural world is what it is. Nature can be indifferent, and it's harsh. Nature is harsh. The physical world is an incredibly beautiful and also broken place, and things go wrong, and we are a part of nature. And I don't believe that God causes these things to happen. But I do believe that God uses these situations in ways that we don't even know sometimes. I just asked God, use me as an instrument. Maybe this can help somebody else who is going through the same thing. Maybe this will inspire somebody to do a self-breast exam. However this might help or inspire somebody, use me in that way. We're just asking God to shine His light through us in this situation, because that is how God works, is through people spiritually, I think. And I've already seen that happen in leaps and bounds, and it's not even been a week. So we spent that whole weekend just processing lots of emotions. I was telling my friends, in a way, I'm glad about all of the very difficult things that I've gone through in the past. And I've done counseling in the past and that kind of thing. And I think that in that way, it has prepared me for how to emotionally handle something like this. Not that I'm by any means doing it perfectly or whatever, but I have learned how to not get upset at the emotions that I'm feeling, because I used to get upset at a lot of the emotions negative emotions that I felt. And now I have learned to have more compassion and grace for myself and allow myself to feel whatever emotions I'm feeling. We are emotive beings. We have emotions, and they're meant to be felt. And it's only a problem when we hold on to those emotions and dwell on them. That's what I've spent doing ever since I got this diagnosis, is just allowing myself to feel whatever I am feeling and experience it, and then just let go of it, give it to God, give it to the universe, whatever you want to call it. Just let go of it. Don't hold it inside, because that will make it worse. Negativity and emotions literally manifest in our bodies through cortisol, the stress hormone, and other various hormones and whatnot. I absolutely believe that it can exacerbate cancer, maybe even cause it in some extreme cases. So I'm really thankful that I've had the experiences that I've had in the past, that I feel like I know how to handle my emotions, and I'm thankful for that I've had the life experience that I've had that has prepared me in that way. And so it's definitely making this easier in that I'm not just bottling it all up and holding on to all of it. I've also been through enough crappy experiences in my life, like I said, to know that these kinds of things that happen in life are nobody's fault. There's not always an explanation, and there's no point in playing any kind of blame game. So I'm not even going there. So I'm thankful for that. And this has already, just in a week, been an even more spiritually and emotionally refining process. Going through hardship is an inevitable part of the human experience, and I've always said that. If you're human, you're gonna go through something hard in life, and you never know what that is gonna be. Of course, you never anticipate that you're gonna be the one with cancer, right? But in the back of my mind, I've always known, like, I am not immune. Nobody is immune to hardship and really hard stuff. And I think having that attitude has helped me not ask why me. We had a family friend who went through something very difficult a while ago, and I remember reading her blog, and she went through the process of asking why me. And then she thought, well, why not me? What makes me so special that I should be exempt from all of the horrors of the world? And the thing is, that's the case for all humans. Like, nobody is exempt, nobody is immune, nobody is above the realities of this broken world. And so I'm really glad that that has been in my heart for many years now. Like, I've always said, if something really hard were to happen to me, like, I wouldn't ask the question, why me? Because, you know, there's no reason that I should be exempt from hard things. Yes, it's not fair. Yes, it absolutely sucks. I'm filming a video.
But why are you making a video of?
I'm making a video talking about the sickness that I have.
Why are you staying here?
Just because it's pleasant. It's nice out here, out by the fruit trees.
But why did you bring your blanket out here?
Because it's a little chilly. Can I have a hug and a kiss? Look at this sweet girl. This girl's amazing. And so are her brothers. They're doing so well. I'll talk about that in a minute. All right, Go play up by Daddy, okay? Thanks, sweetheart. So I'm glad that I had that just kind of in my heart all along, that if something horrible happens, I'm never gonna ask why. It's no point in wasting your energy asking those kinds of questions, because it is what it is, and we are all going to go through hard stuff in our lives, and that looks different for everyone, and this is just what it is for me. I have already accepted that this is how it is. I'm not angry. I'm not angry at God, because I don't think that this was caused by God. I've already managed to find an enormous amount of peace in it. So I spent, the whole weekend after we found out just really processing all of that stuff, all those thoughts, all those emotions. And, I was feeling hard stuff, and I was allowing myself to feel it and then just letting it go. This week on Monday, we went to my genetics appointment, and it was also kind of a follow-up with another one of the nurse practitioners there, and she was amazing. Like, oh my gosh, this appointment, the second appointment we had, was so much easier. Obviously, because we had already had a little time for the shock to wear off, and she just had a very upbeat personality and just very informative, very matter-of-fact. She's like, oh yeah, you're gonna beat this, like, no problem. And just like that attitude was like, oh, I guess we don't have to be living in fear. I was in a much better headspace when we went to this appointment, and she explained a lot of this stuff to me so much better. That also put my mind and Bill's mind at so much more ease. The first gal hadn't actually told us what stage the cancer is in, and so the part that has not escaped the duct is stage 0, which is amazing that it's that early still. And the other one, so I guess if it's 20 millimeters or less, it's stage 1. If it's 20 to 50 or 55, can't remember, it's stage 2. And my tumor at the time they measured it was 22 centimeters. So it's just barely in stage 2. And her just seeing the actual stage of stage 0, stage 2 made it seem so much less scary. She's like, you did a really good job of knowing your body and finding this early, and that makes all the difference. And she also explained a little more about the estrogen receptors and all that, and how that is very good news. We caught it early. There's estrogen receptors, which means we can turn off my estrogen after we do all of the treatment and everything. She said they sent my biopsy back to further pathology, just because they're still trying to determine if it's HER positive. I can't remember what that stands for. It's HER something long, some long medical word, which is a kind of protein that it can have. If it does have that, it makes it a little harder to treat, but they have a treatment for it now, which basically just rids your body of that protein during treatment so that it gets rid of the cancer, because it has receptors for that protein. Because I guess it was like right on the line of whether I had that or not, and it was like if it's 3 or more, then it is positive, and if it's less, then it's negative, and mine was 2+. So they sent it in for further testing, and we're still waiting to hear the results of that, because that will determine whether I add that component into my treatment or not. She also put my mind at ease a lot about doing the MRI, and that it's open on both ends. It's not like being completely enclosed and like in a coffin, you know. That's what I was, because I can be a little claustrophobic. And so she really put my mind at ease about that. And they also put in a prescription for Valium for me in case I am feeling incredibly anxious about it. She's like, yeah, you can take Valium and you can just have a little nap. And so she just made it sound so much less scary. And she said the MRI will determine with certainty if there is lymph node involvement. Like I said, with what they saw with the mammogram, it looked pretty promising, but they are just covering all their bases, making sure it's nowhere else. So that will be coming up. So she just told me everything to expect with the MRI. And then she talked to me about treatment as well. She was saying that chemo is not as bad as it used to be. They have incredible nausea medications now, which is wonderful because I hate being nauseous. I mean, who likes it? Nobody likes it, but I have an especially strong aversion to being nauseous. But she said they have incredible drugs now that really help tamp that down and keep it manageable. She said you probably will have a week or so every month where you just feel completely beat and want to sleep. And I'm like, I can manage that. I can handle that. And she talked about radiation. It's all very localized. They do it right in that area. She talked about the pros and cons about the different kinds of surgeries that I can do if I just want to do a lumpectomy, or if I want to do a full mastectomy or a double mastectomy. There are pros and cons to all of those things, which we will discuss more with our surgeon and oncologist this next week. So we'll have a better idea of what route exactly we want to go. So after that appointment, it put our minds at ease so much. She's like, oh yeah, you're going to beat this. Like, you're going to be fine. You're going to have a tough 3 or 4 months, and then you're just going to put this behind you. And just her attitude of talking to us that way gave us so much more confidence, and making us realize that this is a treatable form of cancer. And yes, it is going to be hell on earth for a few months. It's going to be really hard, especially with 3 kids, but it is survivable. She reiterated breast cancer most of the time now, especially when you catch it this early, is not the death sentence that it once was. So we are feeling so much more hopeful now after that appointment. I also have a friend who has a friend who went through something very similar, and she put me in contact with her, and she has been amazing. We've been chatting through Messenger, and any question that comes up in my head, I just ask it to her, and 5-10 minutes I have an answer. It's so nice knowing somebody who has gone through this. She went through it in her 30s and also had young kids at the time, and I've been able to ask her all the questions, and it is enormous in my mental health. Knowing what to expect and what her experience was like, and how to manage things with the kids, how to talk to the kids about it, how to handle treatment. She worked through most of her chemo treatments. She explained to me that usually for most people, the second week after you receive the chemo treatment is the hardest every time, and you go through a series of those. So you just plan for that week being out of commission, and then you get better again. Knowledge is power, and knowing all of this has been enormous in keeping me calm and keeping me feeling like this is manageable. We are going to beat this. Everything is going to be okay. I made sure to take the time to personally tell most of my friends and family before I made it public knowledge. And then just yesterday, I actually posted it on Facebook too, after I had told all the people personally in my life. Can you hear all the frogs? All of the frogs have been coming out in force. I love it. I love it. And I cannot believe how amazing the people in my life are. I had friends come over immediately. Some of my closest friends came and brought me gifts, food, time. We had a girls' night with some of my closest friends the day after I found out, and they just rallied around. So supportive, so much love. Everybody immediately started praying for us. I just cannot believe how loving and supportive everyone has been. It's just unbelievable blessing. And this is just reinforcing to me, like, we are relational creatures. I'm an introvert, and even introverts need people. God made us that way, and that's how God works, is through people. And we have to have a village that we can rely on. And then once I posted on Facebook, just the prayers, and like, I can feel it in my bones. Like, I can feel the prayers of people, and I am so thankful. So those of you who have been praying and sending us positive vibes and juju and all that good stuff, thank you, because I can literally feel it. And it is giving me so much peace. I just could not ask for a better community than what we have. I'm just blown away at how amazing and loving and compassionate the people in our lives are. So that is the other reason that I know that we're going to be okay, that my family is going to be okay. Our kids are going to be looked after. Our families, I don't know what we would do without our parents. They've dropped everything. They're like, we are going to be there for everything. We'll watch the kids. We'll stay overnight. We'll have them over. We'll take you to appointments. Amazing. We have the most amazing parents. Seriously. We love you guys. That puts our minds at ease too. Like, the kids are going to be okay too. So we're just so thankful that in all of this, we have such an incredible village surrounding us that we can lean on. We did tell our kids, and they don't fully understand the implications of what the word cancer means, and we don't intend to fully. We told them that we just found out mommy has a big sickness. And at first they're like, oh, we don't want to catch your sickness. We're like, no, it's not that kind. And so Alex is, interestingly, his latest special interest in addition to outer space is human anatomy. And he knows so much about human anatomy now. It's amazing. So we could, he knows what a cell is. And so we can say, mommy's boobie has bad cells in it that are growing the wrong way, and we're going to have to get rid of those cells, and mommy's going to have several months of big treatments. And he understands that stuff, and it's awesome that we can just be forthright with it and, explain it in an age-appropriate way, and they understand, and it makes it less scary for them too. I said, before we have the kind of medical technology we have now, this kind of thing used to be a lot scarier. And he said, well, is it still a little bit scary? And I said, yeah, it is a little bit scary, but mommy's gonna be okay. And we have such amazing doctors, and we have all of our family looking after us. We have God looking after us. We are all going to make it through this together. They have been taking it really well. There has been some increase in difficult behavior now and then, but not as much as I expected. It might get more difficult once I am actually experiencing the treatments, because right now, it's not any different for them. I still look the same. I'm still acting the same until the treatments start. But we're just going to be open with them, with everything except for the implications of what cancer means and the seriousness of that. But we're telling them everything else, and they're so smart and they understand. And I think, like for me, having knowledge is power and gives you peace of mind. And I think that's the case for my kids too. And we are open book. We are just trying to be very open and honest with them. And it's been going well so far. I think that's all I can think of for now. Definitely one of these curveballs life has thrown, but we did not see coming. But like I said, we are feeling peace. We are dealing with it. We have so much support. I think I have my entire village to thank for praying for us and lifting us up and letting us lean on them, and they are so supportive, and people are supporting us in the most amazing, tangible ways too, and we are so thankful to the people in our lives. So you guys know who you are. Thank you. That's what's going on in our world. If you are a woman, check your breasts. Any age. I don't care what age you are. It doesn't hurt to check. Learn what is normal, what isn't normal. The easiest thing I could tell you from my experience was that it felt like a hard nodule. Things are usually kind of squishy in there. This felt like a hard nodule, like almost like hard, like a marble kind of hard. But smaller than a marble, but that's kind of what it felt like in there. So do your exams. It could save your life. I'm going to be reiterating that over and over and over again. If you're a woman, check your breasts, even though that is not necessarily what the Cancer Society says, because they've been having like a lot of people coming in with false positives because they don't know what they're feeling. I don't care. Like, and that's what the people at the breast center were saying. They're like, it's horrible that they're saying that, because then women aren't checking their breasts, and they really should be, because there are cases like you, and it is so good that you were. And so yeah, I cannot emphasize that enough. Check. Hurts nothing to check. You take a shower every day, just check. In terms of videos going forward, I still have my backlog of vlogs. I'm up to June of last year now, so I'm going to continue putting those up. And that's therapeutic for me too, just looking at all the fun things that we've done as a family. And I think it's good for our kids too to see those. So I'm going to keep putting those out. Probably the most of my content is going to be related to this journey for the next few months. And it will probably be a lot of live streams here and on Facebook. And I do have an Instagram account, eat_pray_crunch. I am going to try and start using Instagram more, because I know some people prefer that as well. So I'll at least link when I have an update video on Instagram. But if you are also on Facebook, you can follow me on Eat, Pray, Crunch, and I will be doing updates on there as well. I just want to document this journey. I want people to have awareness of it, and to be educated about it. Or if somebody else has gone through this, like, I want to find community with those people. Unfortunately, I still don't have comments on my channel, but you can leave comments in the community tab post I make, as well as on Facebook. You can email me, eat.pray.crunch@gmail.com. I usually have that listed in my description. There are other ways to contact me. So we definitely appreciate all of the love and prayers from you guys as well. In spite of all of the difficulties I've had with YouTube, the people that are in the YouTube community have been nothing short of amazing all along in the last almost 6 years that I've been doing this now, 5.5, 6 years. I just know that you guys are going to be a huge source of therapy and support for me as well. That's another reason why I'm making this public. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in future updates. Bye.